Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 SATO Briefing series. Today, we're going to be talking about a series of other projects that we're working on. One of them is right here in front of me. You'll notice that there's no retardant tank on this particular airplane that we're looking at here, and this is the Convair CV-580 for those not familiar. Um, Now, we are focused mainly on firefighting aircraft, and every once in a while, I do some conversion work that involves aircraft that aren't air tankers. But in the case of the Convair 580, they have a tanker version. So, with this original package, it's considered of a considerable age, actually. The original, I think, was first came out in 2002, and this model is by Greg Pepper, one of the gentlemen involved over at Cal Classics. And I've updated several of their aircraft over the years. But this one came with three models. It came with a passenger version, a cargo version, and an air tanker version. So, um, with me doing this, I was just going to update the tanker versions, but after learning more about the airframe itself, I came to realize that the airframe itself is actually pretty interesting, and I thought it would be worth it to the community for me to actually convert and update all of the models. So with that, I actually ended up after the further I got into this, the prototype phases, I discovered that there were some things that also needed to be adjusted or added, and then other extra things that I decided I wanted to do with it since I was already going to be modifying it a bit. One of those, if you are looking closely at this, you'll realize that this particular airplane does not have the traditional aero product propeller on them. Now, the aero product propeller, in comparison to this, the Hamilton standard propeller, is kind of basically just, it looks like a straight square edges. So you'll see that same propeller on things like the Electra, the Lockheed Electra. So some of these 580s had the Hamilton standard propellers put on them. I don't know why this was done in particular, but some of them do have this propeller on them. Um, and so I decided with this whole update process that I would also take those three base models and add variants that have this propeller on them. So each of those three models, the tanker, the passenger, and the cargo version, will all have this particular additional propeller option. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm also adding a few other model variations of the 580 to them, to this package. So this is actually one of those extra models, and this is a 5800. So Convair, the Convair 580 has it's kind of a, if you would say, a super version of itself, and that's kind of what the Convair 580 or 5800 is. Now the 5800 is actually a lengthened 580 cargo. They only made them in the cargo configuration, and the 5800 is made by Kilonwa Flightcraft, and there's very few of them that were converted. And basically, the main difference between this and a standard 580 cargo is that, for one, the fuselage in the aft section here has been lengthened a bit, and the engine was also updated. It's a little bit more powerful variant of the Allison T56-501. So the more powerful engine and the lengthened fuselage bumped up the maximum takeoff weight for this particular version compared to the standard cargo variant. And the so I decided to create this other additional variant of it since it was I didn't see it around anywhere either. So being that I'm already messing with them, I'm going to be adding this particular model as well. The other version that I'm adding is the VC-131H, which is a military transport variant of the 580. Slightly different airframe configuration than, say, a passenger version. The nose is a little bit different, and the window configurations are a little bit different on the 131s. So, and speaking of windows, one of the many things that I'm updating with these is that I am adding actual windows to them. So the original just had very basic painted on windows, which is fine, but since I was already having to update the models and stretching this particular one, I've actually made windows for not only the cargo versions, but more importantly, the passenger versions will have all functional windows across the entire airplane, as well as a semi accurate interior. I've tried to model, at least very simply, an interior for the 580 cargo or transports, or not transports, the passenger versions. So this pack is going to be considerable in size as a result of all these different extra models that I'm doing, and kind of doubling back to the air tanker versions. The air tankers will have all of the Government of Saskatchewan's 580s as well as Conair's 580s. So just the air tankers by themselves are going to have a lot of repaints to choose from. And as far as the rest of these go, I haven't finalized all the amount of repaints that I'm going to do with them, but there should be a decent number of them. This one here from IFL will be one. Kilonwa, I want to say that's the name of the company that created the 5800. And I'm going to have one of their paints included with this. And there's some other paints that I have in the works that are part of the prototype process for the other aircraft. What I'll do is I will put up a preview of the tanker version so we can see that, and I can kind of talk about the differences between it and, say, the 5800 that we were just looking at. So now you can see in front of me here we've got the one of the tanker versions. This one here does not have the Aero Products propeller either. It has the updated Hamilton standard propeller, and you can see the added new windows, functioning windows on the side. The other main difference you'll notice is the nose. So on the originals, it had the traditional long nose that most of the 580s are seen with. The tankers are unique in the fact that the nose up here had a weather radar and some other equipment in them in the standard 580s. In the tankers, that was removed for weight savings, since weight was such a big deal with the aircraft, since they're carrying retardant. All that extra weight and everything was taken out of them because it was deemed not necessary. So the noses were shortened. So that's one of the other additional model changes I've done for the tankers is do that. Some of the other things I went through and updated, of course, all the models got the typical my typical PBR and 4K texture updates. You can tell the modeling, it's the model itself kind of pops a little bit more whenever you have the higher resolution textures, and all this other updates are done to it. One of the other things I did with the tankers is updated the models, or the retardant tank model, so it's a little more accurate. I've also added smaller things to it, like the fill ports for the retardant tank, and I put them on a new map, so there's writing on the side and other details on the tank. That the tankers, I don't think that's true. With all the rest of these, I'm looking at my notes here. The rest of these, I didn't touch the performance at all. Cal Classics guys over there, they did a really, really good job, I think, of putting the airplane together. I'm just merely updating the cosmetics so that it's good for, P3D version 4 and newer versions of P3D. So the way this thing flies, it's I feel like it would be pretty realistic. The only one that I'm spending time on messing with is the 5800 because it has, it's basically a different airplane to a degree than the 580s, since it's got the more powerful engines and the higher gross takeoff weight and things like that. So that's just something I'm minorly tweaking with on the side once I get around back to them. I'm focusing on the tankers first, then I'll be back to the 5800, and then slowly working my way back through all the other models that we're doing. So that's the 580s. The other aircraft that I'm working on is the Cessna Citation 2 Mustang, the 550 Mustang. It's in limited use for jet lead operations and command and control air attack. So that one is going to be a full airplane. I'll insert some images here of the one of the prototypes that I have. You can see in the image here, it's a one of the Coulson repaints, and that's one of the primary operators of the 550s. And the 550 Mustangs, the U.S. Forest Service uses several from other companies that are contract for jet leads, and obviously Coulson uses theirs here in the States. Coulson also uses their aircraft or these particular jets over in Australia too for command and control and lead operations as well, but for New South Wales Rural Fire Service. So they'll be in those paints will be the red and white that's typical with that particular agency over there in Australia. So there's not going to be a whole lot of repaints for that. That particular airplane was also given to me by Eagle Rotorcraft, and they already did all of the PBR and stuff updates for P3D itself. Basically, the only thing that's coming from me is maybe some minor tweaks to allow for more accurate painting of these particular aircraft and their markings, and getting them ready to just put out there for the community. This particular one is also made by BAe-146s, the same people who did the Turbo Commanders that I released not that long ago. So, if anyone's familiar with that, that's where that particular model is coming from. So that product or that project will probably come out before the 580s are done. I just have to do all the repaints for them. So the 580s will take a little while to do. But I'm also working on a third project, and the third project is relatively new. I've only announced it in the Discord channel, and that is going to be the Avro RJ85 and BAe-146 air tankers. So I'll go ahead and show one of those models right now. So this is the RJ prototype that I have currently. This is, like I said, it's still in early prototype phases. Like I said, the contact points on this particular airplane need to be updated. But a while back, I released a repaint pack and a tank asset for the Quality Wings 146 and RJ85. That's this exact same tank. However, it's been permanently affixed to this particular model, and you don't need to attach it with Firefighter X. So this particular model needs a lot of updates. It's an older model, but I wanted to make one that didn't require the payware platform, and you still kind of get that able to fly either the Avro RJ or the BAe-146. So my plan with this particular project is have all of the aircraft from Aeroflight and Conair, since they're a subsidiary company of Conair, and I will also be doing all of Neptune Aviation's fleet, and I will be doing the single aircraft from Airspray. Airspray, their aircraft, I believe that was certified, but they just kind of vanished. Nobody kind of really knows what happened to it or why they're not flying it in the U.S. I don't know if it failed the certification or what the deal is there with it, but it was an interesting paint job that was on it, so I figured since it was at least flying around that I would at least include it in this package whenever I get around to it. So the 146s, there's going to be two models, and like I said, the RJ will have its own, and then the typical 146 will have its own model as well. So I'm still doing some tweaks for that other model. I can actually show you that model as well. That's flown by Neptune Aviation. There, it's the BAe-146-200. This model is a little bit further along in the modification process. This is Neptune's current livery. They have another operational livery that will also be included with this, I think. But this is basically this is what this one will particularly look like. There won't be a whole lot further external changes to this one. Versus the RJ still needs, like I said, you could see that you need some contact point adjustments and things like that for the sim. But this will be another long-term project due to the amount of updates that I need to do to it to get it up and ready, because it also does not have all of the updates that I wish that it would have. So it needs the updated stuff for PBR and all that. So we are looking at quite a interesting bunch of aircraft coming. So it might be a little while between aircraft, because between the 146 RJ project and the 580s, those are going to be pretty involved in the amount of work that I have to do with them and the amount of libraries that I have to do for them. So it's going to be probably, like I said, it's going to be a while between projects to come out. But like I said, in between those, that small Cessna Citation project should come out. So it won't be like a huge gap, but there still will be a significant gap. So, and if you were waiting to see any more information on the P3s between the last video and this video, I didn't really include them at all because they were released actually as of this point in time, 4th of September 2024. They're actually released this past Labor Day weekend. So if you haven't seen those yet, check out Simviation or Sim Outhouse, and you can download it there. That has the P3 Aerostars in them. It has 23 liveries. It takes the KBT P3. I mean, it's the best P3 around. I think it's the only one around. And I updated it with all the gizmo gadgets for P3D, and I did all kinds of stuff to that one as well. So I think it looks pretty fantastic. It came out. I'm really happy with the way that particular model came out, being updated. So if you're excited about these projects coming out, the 146 and the RJ, you probably, unfortunately, aren't going to be seeing a lot of updates on that for right now, because I'm trying to focus on getting all the model work done for the 580s. So, you want to keep checking back on the Facebook page. I know I try and update them maybe once or twice a week. If you're wanting to get more in depth, sometimes multiple times a day types of updates, then our Discord might be a better option for you to check out. And not only that, but our Discord, as I've mentioned in our previous video, our Discord doesn't just have our development stuff on it. There's a lot of other semi-related or other related users on there in the community, the aerial firefighting community, that are also doing repaints, their own builds, the airplanes, their own modifications, all that type of stuff. They're posting their content and their updates on our Discord as well. So it's kind of a cool little community. You don't just get stuff from us, you get stuff from everybody around, and everyone just kind of everyone mingles and shares information and modifications and where they find stuff and resources. It's a great bunch of guys over on our Discord, in my opinion. So if you want to jump over there and check that out, by all means, go right ahead. There's links around I believe on our Facebook page. So I think that's all I've got to say for this particular video. But if you want to, like I said, continue those updates, check those places out. And thanks for watching, and tune into the next one.